What is going on, alpha males? Welcome to the Alpha Male Podcast, the podcast where we talk about what it means to be a man the right way, strong, made in the image of God, and don't apologize, making godly men strong and making strong men godly. So today, I think we're going to forego the normal long bio, because by God's grace, we're getting to the point where we hopefully have a lot of repeat listeners, and you've likely heard it before, and if not, hopefully you'll come back for a future episode and hear it. I will just say that first and foremost, I am a servant of God and a follower of Jesus Christ. That is number one in everything that I do. And this podcast should be no different. Also served in the U.S. Marine Corps. Did a couple of tours in Iraq. Also served in the U.S. Army, both full-time and part-time National Guard. With that, I was thinking about this episode, and hopefully it's a fun one for you guys. You know, sometimes if you listen for a while, we do some deep thought philosophical episodes, and sometimes we just have some fun, talk about cool manly stuff. Today, hopefully that is what we're going to do. How about some cool military inventions that are good for everybody? You know, sometimes I think I get jaded. Maybe jade is not the right word, but I get biased into thinking that, you know, everybody's a veteran, because a lot of my friends and stuff are veterans, but I do believe it's something like less than 1% of the population serves in the military. So it's not everybody. And likely many of you listeners are not or have not been in the military. That doesn't mean we can't all reap the benefits of some really cool military technology and developments that have come around over the years. So today's episode, fun military hardware that has come about that everybody can really take advantage of. I'm going to start with the one that got me thinking about this episode, by God's grace. The Poncho liner, or its affectionate name in the Army, the Woobie. Because without it, you would be cold. So they call it a Woobie. Anyway, the Poncho liner, if you don't know, is a super thin, super lightweight, and surprisingly warm, for as small and as light and as handy as it is, blanket. It's really cool. It's just a really cool multifunctional blanket. As its name suggests, it's designed to be tied inside a poncho liner. You can make what's called a ranger roll, where you tie the poncho on the outside and the poncho liner on the inside, and it's waterproof. It's very warm. It's windproof. So it's designed specifically, it's got little ties on it to tie into the grommets of the poncho, and that's a great way and a great thing for it to be used for. However, you don't need the poncho to take advantage of the poncho liner. It's great for just like a travel blanket. It's great for just a go-to blanket. It's great for a bug-out bag. It's great for like making a picnic. I don't know, I'm trying to think of any kind of uses, but pretty much anything you want a light, handy, comfortable, warm blanket for. The Woobie, or the poncho liner, is a great choice. It's a really cool piece of hardware. As much as I love the old wool blankets, and I do really like those, they're nowhere near as light and as handy as the Woobie is. The next one I'm going to talk about is Molle. And if you're into the tactical or the outdoors world or anything like that, you've probably noticed this in packs that aren't specifically made for the military. But what Molle is basically a system of interwoven straps where you can make a pack or a vest or body armor or pretty much anything like that that's made out of that ballistic nylon or some similar material. You can make it modular. So you can take a big pack and take the outside pouches off to make it smaller, or you could take a small pack and add pouches to the side to make it larger. Or you could say put a first aid kit on your, body armor, which for obvious reasons is really nice. You can customize where you want your magazine pouches on different things, on war belts. And it's a really good system. And I assume that it was designed by the military because that's where it was first popular. But it's a really good system for modularity. See it on a lot of packs now that were never designed for the military initially. A lot of companies have picked up that Molle system or say Molle compatible. Molle may be a proprietary name, but I'll say it's like Molle compatible or something like that. Anyway, it's a great system. It's a great, sturdy, robust way to make something modular. So that's a pretty cool invention. So let's talk camouflage. Now, camouflage obviously is a natural thing. The whole point of camouflage is to blend in with a natural environment. And obviously, animals do this rather well, as you'll know if you're a deer hunter. Or look at a moth landing on a piece of bark or something like that. But as far as humans using camouflage in the military, as far as camouflage patterns go now, like American long hunters and American riflemen and snipers of the Revolutionary War would obviously wear drab uniforms and things like that. But as far as patterned camouflage, the credit for that may have to go to the French, but I'm not 100% sure on that research. For camouflage, obviously, if you look at the word, etymology of that, it certainly looks like a French word, camouflage. Anyway, one of the coolest, perhaps the best quintessential woods camouflage pattern, the pattern that I was issued when I joined the military, that classic U.S. woodland camouflage pattern. There's a lot of good camo patterns, but I don't know that anything is better than that woodland pattern. We went through the whole digi-camo phase. I will mention it, of all the digital camouflages, Marpat, Marine Corps kind of digital woodland, is probably the best. But when I was in the Army, I was issued the new version of whatever they decided to call it, woodland or multicam. If you look at that, it's basically just a smaller version of the old woodland pattern. Both of those are really good. I've worn many uniforms. I was issued maybe somewhere between 5 and 7 different camouflage patterns, or bought them at my time in the Marine Corps and the Army. Perhaps the worst was that Army digital camouflage, the ACU. Still kind of does a job. It'll break up your outline, but it really doesn't blend in with anything. But that old woodland camouflage pattern, what I grew up hunting with, and that's what I was still issued because it was in service so long. When I joined the Marine Corps, I was issued the old black boots you had to polish and the old woodland camis that you had to iron. Great camouflage pattern, and the common use of broken up camouflage patterns, although there's plenty of civilian ones now, real tree or mossy oak or any of those. Common use of that I think became common with hunters because of the surplus of military uniforms. So I'm going to list some cool camo patterns there. I've talked about a few, but the woodland's got to be up there, if not the preeminent classic camouflage. Like if you just say camouflage uniform to somebody, they're probably thinking of woodland. The multicam is the next generation of that. It is really good as well. As far as the entire uniform design, the Scorpion or multicam I wore in the Army before I got out was probably the best designed uniform as a whole. Both of those are great. Of all the digital ones, Marpat is a really good pattern. It's a digital camo where the colors actually blend into a woodland environment. Some really cool vintage camouflage patterns. I really like Rhodesian brushstroke camo. It's a good classic, let's call it retro camo. Why would I have this? Well, because I have a Rhodesian Ridgeback. And I don't know if you can truly be tactical. You and your Rhodesian Ridgeback were out in the wilderness, wearing matching Rhodesian brushstroke neck gaiters. You have achieved a level of tactical perfection rarely seen. You also got to give a head nod to Vietnam Tiger Stripe. The Tarns, the Fleck Tarn, the Tropen Tarn. If you look at those were kind of digital camo like 75 years ahead of their time. One of the really cool camos, the Alpenflage, the Swiss. Leave it to the Swiss to put bright blue and red in camouflage and still make it blend into an environment. It works really good. It's not common, which you might want. One of the kind of SOPs that I had before I was living nomadically and I had a group of like-minded preppers would give out an outer garment in Alpenflage. If I was scanning a crowd, it stands out. That's probably not a camo pattern other people are going to have, right? Like not many people are walking around in Alpenflage. Whereas woodland, there might be a bunch of people wearing woodland. It's kind of an easy identifier of a friendly. It still blends into a natural environment. And it doesn't like scream tactical. Like maybe like multicam Blackwood or something like that. Feel free to take that idea and run with it. Anyway, some really cool camo patterns, and perhaps talking about garments. One of the best things the military gave us, silkies, running shorts, short, comfortable running shorts. If you don't know what silkies are, you might want to do yourself a favor and get yourself a pair of silkies. The next one, the Canteen cup, is so awesome. It's so multifunctional. It is great. It is probably one of the, if you do like the mental thought experiment, you can only have 3 items for, I don't know, wilderness survival or whatever. The Canteen cup will probably be on there for me. Canteen cups are awesome. They're awesome for what they're intended for, a canteen cup. It fits, as the name suggests, on the bottom of a canteen. For all you non-military folks, you get it issued generally in a pouch with the canteen and the metal canteen cup, and sometimes a little canteen cup stove, which is cool in and of itself. But that whole system works together pretty nicely. The canteen cup is really nice for eating your meals out of, for cooking in, for boiling water in, just for in general. For drinking your coffee out of. It's just a great all-around utilitarian metal cup. It's a decent size. You can throw it right in a fire and not have to worry about it. You can use it to shave in, all that stuff. It's great. It's just a good, metal container that's so multifunctional. You don't have that as part of your kit. You probably should have a canteen with canteen cup. I would be a bad capitalist if I did not tell you guys that at goodshepherdtraining.com there's a gear shop, and I don't sell canteen cups, but I sell metal enamel coated cups with the Alpha Male podcast on there. They're really good cups. I use them all the time. They're really cool. They're really cool for like drinking coffee out of, shaving out of. I use mine for all those things. If you don't know, I kind of live semi-nomadically, so it's a good multifunctional piece of kit, that Alpha Male cup. But obviously, kind of all-around metal utilitarian piece of kit is that metal canteen cup, and those are awesome. The next one is one that I don't even have anymore, and I don't know what happened to mine. I haven't seen it in forever, but I got to get another one, and that's the Woolly Pulley. The real one's 100% wool pullover sweater. They're super warm. I don't know if they still issued them. I got issued one. They are awesome. They are super warm. They are really handy to have, part of your uniform. Anyway, the Woolly Pulley, it's like a good, robust, super thick wool sweater. The ones I was issued were OD green. That's my favorite. Make them in different colors. A lot of other countries use them as well, the European countries. You find one if you don't want an OD green one. They like different militaries made different colors of them. You could probably get a black one or a navy blue one. The branches of service may even have used those. But anyway, it's a really good, really warm thing that you don't have to be in the military to use. They're great for going hunting. They're wool, so if you get wet, you take a spill in a creek, something like that, you're still going to be warm. Probably don't want to wear it as a base layer. You probably want to wear something a little less itchy as a base layer, but putting that on top of a shirt or a merino wool shirt or something like that, they're just fantastic. Just really cool. And I didn't start off with military guns. There's a whole list of military guns that are great for civilian use, so I'm probably going to leave those off. One thing I will mention is going to be the 9mm. The ubiquitous 9mm that we all know and love. The 9x19. The 9mm para for parabellum, which means for war. It's the 9mm for war, which in and of itself is a pretty cool name, but it has become like the most common centerfire round probably in the world. Originally designed for the German military, and no, not the Nazi German military, but the old Imperial for the Kaiser German military. This round was developed way back in the 1900s. I forget if it was like 1902 or 1908, but somewhere in there this round was developed. And it's still with us, and not only is it still with us, it's probably more popular today than it ever has been. It is a phenomenal round. It doesn't look like it's going to get usurped on the throne anytime soon for the world's most popular handgun round. It is a fantastic round, and again, we have the German military this time to thank for that. Next, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole and a fun fact. Well, fact is maybe not the right word because I wasn't there, but I do believe a rifle that most Americans own, if you own a rifle, is probably the AR-15. think of this, or a lot of people think of this as some military weapon that civilians owns, but it should be noted, for many reasons, mostly for the truth, that this weapon was designed by a civilian. It was designed by a civilian. It was a civilian weapon that got adopted by the military. It should be noted that when he originally designed it as a civilian, it was in 308 7.62 NATO, which is far more powerful than the AR-15 that the military went to, or the M16 that it became. So if, somebody says that military weapon and super high power, well, then that's just not true on its face. Number one, it's at least the AR-15 and 5.56 is quite a bit less powerful than most other traditional hunting rounds. It was designed by a civilian and adopted by the military. So it's a civilian arm first and foremost. Although the M16 is certainly a military weapon, or the M4, the AR-15 came direct lineage from the AR-10, which was developed as a civilian, or by a civilian rather. Anyway, I just thought that was worth throwing in there and going down that rabbit hole to mention that. My wife also pointed out to me that the jet engine is a military invention that gets used all the time. Whether you fly on a plane every day or you get stuff shipped from Amazon or whatever, likely a jet engine had something to do with it. And although I think we can hopefully all agree that are listening to this, the Nazis did horrible atrocities and horrible things. The Germans also far ahead of their time in World War II as far as development of new technology goes. Much of that was funded by the military, the jet engine being one of those things. Anyway, that's pretty cool, and I thought it was worth mentioning those different inventions. Anyway, just a short episode today. Kind of tying into that with the tactical tip of the day. DEET, the chemical, like it or don't like it, that's used in a lot of bug repellent, was partially funded by the USDA and partially funded by the DoD, the Department of Defense. So that makes it kind of a quasi-military or paramilitary, I guess you could call it, invention. And DEET works well, but it's a pretty harsh chemical. Tactical tip of the day is stuff that I found, and it's Repel brand, and it is plant-based lemon eucalyptus insect repellent. And you may think it's some kind of hippy-dippy thing, but especially in like the rainforest of Oregon, I like to go out and be out in the woods in the wilderness. And I generally spray the DEET and stuff on my clothes and on my boots, but when it comes to my face and my hands and things like that, I try not to. In an environment like that, you need something. There are wild plants that I can pick, and they do work fairly well, but this stuff works really well. And it's the Repel Lemon Eucalyptus. It's not expensive. It lasts a super long time. In fact, the first bottle I had, I've misplaced it and I can't find it, so I bought another one. They're like $6. And there's a lot of bug repellent in there. And one of the other side effects of it is it doesn't smell bad. It smells a lot, so you probably don't want to use it if you're spot and stalk hunting on game, although it may be a cover scent. I don't know whether or not deer associate eucalyptus with danger or not, because it's pretty foreign to the environment. Anyway, it's lemon eucalyptus. It smells pretty potent, but it doesn't smell bad. It's not like one of those universal bad scents like sulfur or rotten meat or something. And it certainly smells better than off, or any other kind of DEET repellent that I've ever smelled. It smells like eucalyptus, which a lot of people use in candles and stuff to make stuff smell better. And it works really well to repel bugs. Not one of those people that's like, oh, essential oils is going to cure your cancer and make your teeth whiter and fix male pattern baldness or any of that stuff. This eucalyptus lemon oil or whatever it is, it seems to work really well for its intended purpose of repelling mosquitoes. So if you don't want that harsh DEET, you're going out in the woods all the time and you don't want to continually spray your face and your hands and stuff with DEET, you might want to give this a shot. It says DEET free right on the bottle. It's eucalyptus oil and it works really well. So that's your tactical tip of the day. Tactical verse of the day. The Lord is a man of war. Exodus 15. The Lord is a man of war. It's important that we have a right view of God. If we intend to serve God and please God, we must know God and love God. And how can you love someone if you don't know who they are and you don't understand them. The greatest of all the commandments. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. To love him, we should better understand him. And the Lord is many things. And it says in Exodus 15, the Lord is a man of war. And since I have been acquainted with war since my youth, I identify with that. I respect that. And hopefully that helps me understand God better. The Lord is a man of war. Exodus 15. God has both wrath and grace. Nothing can destroy like God. Nothing can pour out awesome wrath like our God. Likewise, there's no Savior like our God. Who is like my God unto me, who pardons my iniquity? He became sin for us who knew no sin, that we might become the righteousness of God in him. For with God lies the power to save and to destroy. The Lord is a man of war. With that, thanks, and have a blessed day.